guys, and welcome back to Eden. So as you can see in the last episode, we ended where Lavier was being dumb and brought a knife to a gunfight. So, let's see how this pans out. I didn't blink once and didn't take my eyes off her. In spite of that, no sooner had her hand moved did she manage to draw her knife. So, what's the big idea? Oh my god! Oh my god, they're so pretty! Ah! You have quite the reaction speed. Just what I expected. Lavier had without a doubt moved first, and I hadn't been able to follow her movements. But even so, I had my handgun pointed at her before she could prepare her knife. Move before you think. Shoot before you're shot. And it's the same for you, right? It's not like guns or knives that mustn't be directed at the wrong person, but rather the desire to kill, don't you think? That's about right. I'll ask one more time. What are you trying to do all of a sudden? I'm sick of how unruffled you look. Those are some scary eyes, Lavier. If you had made those eyes when I met you on the battlefield, then there's no way I would have forgotten. It's an honor to be told that by a soldier I used to aspire to be. Yes, I wanted to be just like you. My arms were slim, I lacked upper body strength, and I kept being treated as a hindrance on the battlefield. But you were the very soldier I thought I wanted to become. Ro Haruna, because I found a goal, I became strong. If you're strong, it's because you took the time to train and learn to survive out in the field. The way she drew and handled her knife just now was magnificent. I couldn't find any flaws in her stance. However, don't mistake who you're pointing your blade at. No, perhaps you weren't ever meant to hold a weapon. What do you mean? I'm saying you're softer than I am. I lowered my gun and put it away in its holster. If you don't follow through with the kill, you'll be countered. You should know that much. You can't play the role of a cold-blooded killer unless it's in the line of duty, can you? Well, I'm not quite a machine. I haven't been honed to that degree yet. Lavier dropped her knife. Her sharp eyes still glared at me. I think you're fine like that. I fight for the one important to me. I've killed many and done even more unspeakable things. I've become so stained with blood, I can no longer see her. Alicia had said she knew my sister, but that was why I couldn't ask her about her. It had been 7 years since she had been taken away. I couldn't let her see how much I had changed. Warrant Officer Lavier is at the end of her rope. Huh? The major stared hard at me, his mouth agape. I said she's at the end of her rope. She isn't suited for murder. You came here out of nowhere, and now I've got no idea what you're talking about. Here, look at this instead. He scratched his head and turned the screen toward me. The application loaded up and emails of the subject, news coverage request, lined up one after the other. She's a persistent one. Actually, there's quite a few reporters who want to interview Zion, but I've never met one who's harassed me with such tenacity. Maya Tono. She appears to be a budding young journalist, but she has an admirable spirit, so much so that I'd like to have her as a subordinate. That's true. Well, what would you say to making her a subordinate and assigning Lavier to some position behind the scenes? Is Lavier that much of a lost cause? Please don't feign ignorance. I'm sure you've noticed. Getting straight to the point, she's not suited to be a soldier. I don't know what reason Lavier had for joining the army, and had no intent of prying into her past. One thing's for certain, she wasn't tough enough to kill for a living. That expression she showed me when she pulled out her knife, it was the face of someone a step away from breaking. It didn't seem like she turned to drugs and the like just yet. But if she kept working like this, that may just be a matter of time. Lavier performed admirably on the battlefield, and made it to the rank of warrant officer, same as you. You can't mean that she's unsuited in terms of qualifications. She's clearly bottling up a great deal. Her abilities may be up to par, but that doesn't mean her psyche is suited for it. Do you intend to use her until she ceases to function? If she ceases to function, then that'll be the end of it. Major Inaba declared, a smile on his face, albeit a small one. I'm not doing it for fun. Lavier is free to resign if she wishes, and I'm in no position to say otherwise. Am I wrong? I wanted to say otherwise. Lavier saw no alternatives. She was the type who carried out her orders to the letter, to the bitter end, no matter what they may be. I was certain that a long time ago a girl by the name Lavinia had decided that this would be the right path for herself. Her chance encounter with me may have strengthened that resolve. She had stuck to that decision to this day, believing that solitary choice would decide the rest of her life. If there wasn't anything that could overturn that belief, it would be if her superior, Major Inaba, diverted her from that course in life, by force if necessary. Lavier will listen if it's an order, and you are the only one who has the authority to issue one to her. Sorry, but I can't give out such an order. What do you mean? This facility will be shut down before long. Well, I know. Oh? Sorry guys. How did you get wind of that? The Major seemed genuinely surprised. Cyan probably hadn't actually known, Cyan probably hadn't actually known it was shutting down, but likely saw the writing on the wall. She probably foresaw me coming too. Cyan will be transferred to space, right? I see, so the princess saw through it all. Yeah, she'll soon leave here, and first head to the moon. So Lavier and I have been chosen as her attendants for the occasion. Yeah, that's basically it. At any rate, she's popular, but has many enemies. Although the anti-emigration faction has been mostly eradicated from the planet, it only takes one to pull the trigger. We can't let our guard down. In addition, those jealous of her popularity could also be trouble. There were sure to be those who knew the internal state of the military, so you could say they also posed a threat. The higher-ups decided it could potentially be even more dangerous to assign a sizable detachment of guards to her. In order to keep her from standing out, we'll be keeping her escort to a bare minimum. This has already been decided. I have no means of overturning it. While that may be true, surely it doesn't have to involve Lavier, does it? Cyan is a woman. It would be desirable to have a female amongst her guards. Lavier is reliable, skilled, and female. There aren't many soldiers who meet those requirements. There was almost no emotion in his words. It was like he was just indifferently speaking the facts. You may regret it one day. I feel regret every second of my life. I constantly wonder what would have happened if I'd never became a soldier. Constantly. There was nothing more to say. I understood and saluted the Major. I turned around without another word. My mind couldn't be any cooler, and my 5 senses were as sharp as ever. If I looked into the mirror, I might have been able to see the face of a demon who had forgotten his humanity. I sat on my bed, staring straight at the wall, clutching my pistol in my hand. In the end, this was all I had. I could only fight as ordered. While I had noticed Lavier's issues, I couldn't even lend a helping hand. I would protect Scion with my life alongside a broken Lavier. That was all I could do. That, and defeating those who stood in my way with this pistol. That girl had never seen the outside world. Staring intently at them or at a monitor on an empty island, working herself to the bone to allow mankind to escape into space, huh? And her transfer to space would be her first and final journey. I just wanted to see the world. Scion lost her freedom because of how talented she was. And once I decided I wanted to see and run beneath the wide open sky, couldn't stop myself. She would have to leave this world, knowing nothing of the blue sky, the clouds, the wind. It wouldn't matter if it were just for a brief moment, if only I could stand and smile in that gentle wind. Was this really to be the fate of the girl who saves mankind? Then I would say goodbye to the world. Sis, there's a girl suffering just like you did. I strengthened the grip on my gun. The echo of my sister's words and Sion's realities sent a stabbing pain through my heart. A modest wish in woeful words. I had to bring it to an end. No. My first and last chance to stop this was right in front of me, right this second. I never wanted to feel the same way I did back then, ever again. Back then. Consider me your big sister, she said. That person who suddenly appeared and began living in my home. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, tending the fields, and of course, hunting with a rifle. She couldn't do any of these things. She was utterly helpless. However, I'm sorry I can't do anything. I came to love the way she smiled when she shyly said that. You're amazing, Ro. You're so young, but you can do everything. That hand that brushed my head was warm. One day, Mom and Dad suddenly disappeared. When I woke up in the morning, breakfast was left on the table. Back then, all I did was eat breakfast and go outside to tend the fields. I'm sure there was a reason for it. She was in the army, wasn't she? I lowered my head. I wasn't so sure of that. There used to be many people living all over this mountain. But the people on the mountain started disappearing one by one, until only my family remained, and finally, Mom and Dad disappeared too. I'm positive your parents will come back one day. You just have to wait for them without crying until then. Yeah. This person who appeared, who crossed paths with Mom and Dad. I naturally accepted this kind person. She called herself Natsume, but I called her sister. I woke up early every day, watered the crops and fed the chickens, and made breakfast for two. Morning! You're up early again today. Morning, breakfast is ready. You're so amazing, Ro. Think you could be my husband? Huh? I blushed and couldn't say anything back. You're so cute, Ro. You don't have to take everything so seriously. You're going without lunch today. Aw, you don't have to go that far. I'm sorry, so cheer up, Ro. Of course, I wasn't seriously angry. Far from it, I was actually happy. Even if she was joking, what she said made me happy. But I'm happy. Huh? You like me, don't you? It didn't sound like a joke this time. Although she had a smile on her face, her eyes were genuinely sincere. but I couldn't say it. I couldn't say that I liked her out loud. You really are a boy. So stubborn. It'll get cold if you don't hurry up and eat, I said bluntly and picked up my fork. But she didn't touch her food. She only gazed at me. Life with my sister passed by uneventfully. She was useless in a good way, and just ate and slept every day. However, she taught me many things. I had always lived on this mountain and knew nothing but the skills to stay alive. To me, my sister's stories were a breath of fresh air. She taught me that the planet was coming to an end, about the existence of the ships that would take us to live beyond the sky, about the outside world where wars raged on. I listened to all these stories which set my heart aflutter. And finally, there is a girl who will be leading mankind to the new world. A girl? She's a very strong girl. She's been entrusted with humanity's future, turns our prayers into hope, and has become our guide to a new world. Good God, this is so pretty. People understand how precious living is because we now have a future. It was her who reminded us of something so obvious. Where is she now? Somewhere far away. Somewhere very, very far away. Even now, she continues to burn away her life in order to bring about a beginning rather than an end. She just looks forward while dreaming of the outside world. But you know what I think? Huh. Isn't it a bad thing to just look forward? Sometimes looking to the side or looking back, there just might be something important there. You may have lost something. There may be a smile of a loved one. Isn't it important to try looking around once in a while? That's how it was for me. I could only ever face forward, could only move my legs with such reckless abandon. I never had any idea what sort of footprints I might be leaving behind me. No, in truth, I couldn't even look ahead. The fact that I've never seen anything was scary. So I went on a trip to find what I truly desired. And then I met you. Sis. It'd be nice if that girl could come here too. I'm sure you could become good friends with her. I have no basis for saying this, but I just have that feeling. I thought I was happy. It was fun to cook for her, and although the things she told me were a little confusing, listening to her voice warmed my heart. However, happiness always weakens the heart. I was probably happy when I was living with Mom and Dad as well. When I was enveloped in happiness, I thought of nothing. I never made sure it was actually in my best interest or not. When the happiness ended, I knew for the first time how irreplaceable the time I had spent truly was. That was something I should have known, but I was an idiot. I was an idiot for believing that I could live with her forever. I realized something felt odd when I was cleaning up after breakfast. I couldn't explain what it was, but I had a tingle on the back of my neck. Something bad was coming. I grabbed my rifle and threw all the ammo I had onto the table. Ro, what's wrong? Stay here, I answered without taking my eyes off the door. There was no way there would be any bears, but it could have been a stray dog. Something that could break into the house. Regardless, I had to take control of the situation. I loaded the magazine on the rifle and pulled back on the bolt to begin to ready a round. Ro, what are you doing with? I heard it just as she began talking behind me. The sound of footsteps outside coming towards the door. It didn't sound like a wild animal. It was definitely people. However, this bad feeling that just kept growing wouldn't let me take my hands off the rifle. What should I do? There was no way I could shoot a person. But this was my sister. My mind was all over the place, and the subtle shaking of my hand, which held the rifle, would not cease. Stop, Ro! Huh? She placed her hand on top of my own. It's okay. It was bound to happen. It's not somebody you need to point such a thing at. Wouldn't you say, Lieutenant Inaba? She looked at the door as if waiting for something to happen. Several seconds passed. The door opened and a lone man walked in. Good guess. The man had a slightly bemused look on his face and stood a small distance away from us. God, even though this is such a sad part, this is still so pretty. Knowing you, I just figured you'd come get me yourself. I should have expected no less from you, Natsume. You saw right through me. That goes double for you, Lieutenant. I'm surprised you found out about this place. Tracking isn't even your specialty. We're one and the same in that respect. No matter how exceptionally intelligent you are, escaping military pursuit your first time outside should be impossible. This guy was an enemy. But this is all the time that I have for this episode, guys, so if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!